Hi, and welcome to Infertility Unfiltered, where fertility experts and warriors are joining forces to provide you with tips, tricks, information, and support so that you can take back control of your life and get your baby on board. Hi, I'm Jennifer Robertson, and today we are so blessed to be joined by Monica Cox. She is one of my faves. Now, Monica is a fertility health coach. She's the host of the Finding Fertility Podcast. She's author of the Baby and Me mindfulness journey, and she's the creator of the hashtag Grated Veg Brekkie. Her fertility journey was a 9-year evolution which led to her overhaul her diet and lifestyle choices, and now she is a mum of 2 beautiful little boys and helps other women on their journey. And today we are going to be talking about 3 steps that you can take to improve your chances of getting and staying pregnant. And if you stick around to the end, Monica is going to tell you how you can get your hands on her free 3-step guide to get you closer to creating your dream family. So I am so thrilled to have you here, Monica Cox.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, before we dive into the 3 things that you can do, and I love that you created something so simple as well, because I think we have a habit to overcomplicate everything. Before we dive into that, I would love for you to tell our audience just a little bit about yourself and what led you down this path.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you the cliff notes because we're going to make this short. 9 years is a long time. But I basically started trying to have children at 27. I was healthy, normal, happy. Well, I thought I was happy. I thought I was healthy. And it just didn't work. So we tried IVF, and that just showed us that we weren't making healthy embryos. It was a shambles of a IVF journey. And we were just kind of left shell-shocked, and we asked the doctor, like, well, what can we do? And he was like, nothing. And we're like, okay. But we didn't like that answer. So we were going to go and investigate another clinic. And during that time, a friend just said, why don't you change your diet? And I was like, well, I'm not unhealthy. Like, I look like this. Like, I'm not overweight. I don't have any like health concerns. I go to work every day. And he was like, just try it. And I was like, all right, I've done everything else for fertility. Like, I'm talking everything. So why not try diet changes? And so I basically went paleo, and I got enormous health benefits from the paleo diet, but I still didn't get pregnant for like a year. And so we tried another IVF round. We went to a new clinic. It was doing immune testing at that time. When I was doing it, that was kind of controversial. And we got better embryos. We were so excited. We put the best embryo back in, and I didn't even make it to day 28. And I was devastated. I printed out a surrogacy form, and I was like, my body can't do this. And so we demanded immune testing because we got talked out of the testing because we weren't having reoccurring miscarriages. And there it was. I had high NK cells, so high natural killer cells. And it hasn't really been until recently that it dawned on me that I still had natural killer cells that were elevated after a year of being on a really strict paleo diet, doing mindset stuff. My body was that sick.
Like, can you just explain to us just a little bit what NK cells are?
Okay, so natural killer cells is something everyone has in their body. They are your cells that help defend you from sickness. So from the common cold to cancer to everything. Those are your kind of military guys in your body that attack foreign agents. Now, what happens when your gut health is low and poor is that food particles and other things that your gut actually keeps inside your gut and gets rid of starts leaking into your blood system. And so your natural killer cells are like, whoa, what's all these particles? What's going on? And so they rev up. And so some people get thyroid issues, there's lots of different autoimmune issues you can have when this happens. For me, there was no big red flags. I mean, now with hindsight, I can look back and go, okay, I had major stomach issues. That should have been a red flag, but no one, I mean, more people now are linking it, but at the time, no one was linking my IBS with my infertility. And so what my body was doing was attacking the embryos before they could even like pronounce themselves as a pregnancy. I mean, I went for almost 6 years of never seeing a positive pregnancy test. Even though embryos were being made, I would say for the first 4 years, probably really poorly, and that didn't, help. So I got tested for the NK cells, and I went in and had a frozen embryo transfer and used immune suppressing drugs and got pregnant finally. But I miscarried that pregnancy, and as devastating as it was, it gave me hope. I knew my body can get pregnant. I knew I can do this. And so I dived deeper, or probably went off the cliff, into more diet and lifestyle, and discovered the autoimmune paleo diet. And that really just accelerated my health. We did 2 more frozen embryo transfers, which one resulted in a son and then another one in an early miscarriage. And so that was it. 8 years, we were done and dusted. I was not doing any more medical procedures. I kept up my my diet because I felt so much better within myself. And 2 months after my last miscarriage, I got pregnant naturally. And it was just a complete mind, like the emoji, right? With the explosion out of the head. And I have to admit that I was pissed off. I was mad that this information wasn't out there for us, that there were things that you can actually do to solve major infertility issues. And at that stage, I had already qualified as a functional diagnostic practitioner. And I was like, this needs to get out there. So I kind of dedicated my studies to fertility, especially unexplained and autoimmune issues. And now I help and support women like me who feel like they have done everything, including IVF, and still aren't seeing the results that they need. And so I help you dive really deep into gut health, adrenal health, endocrine system, your mental health, and just figure out where that missing link is. Like, what are we missing that you need to introduce to either get pregnant naturally or help with a successful IVF or IUI?
So you help women basically find the answers that we are all searching for, the why, what is wrong? What can I do? Because that's always the thing that it just baffles us and sends us around and around and around in a circle. So let's talk about the three things that we can do to improve our chances of not just falling pregnant, but actually staying pregnant.
Yeah. So there's a lot you can do, but over my work and over time, we all have to start somewhere. And that's the basics, right? We just need to start. We need to kind of ditch all the diet books, ditch everything that, do all the toxins, do all the food, do all this, do all that, because it's so overwhelming. And what I find is that we just stop doing it. So if we can just start with the basics, that will lead us into a greater path. We can actually even be improving our fertility when we're just starting as well. So my first number 1 top tip is find your food sensitivities. I think this is hands down the most important thing for you to do, because unless you know what you're intolerant to and eliminate them, I always say your stomach's like a scab inside your body, right? So if you had a wound on your arm, what you're doing with your food intolerances is picking at it, picking at it, picking at it, picking at it. So we all know to leave, we put a Band-Aid over it. We're told not to touch it. We put the dog cone on the dog so he can't scratch his ear, right? But because we can't see our stomach and because we're not necessarily linking those, we just keep damaging our gut health. So if you can find your top, I would even say 3 to 5 food intolerances and eliminate those at least 90 to 100%, you can greatly increase your gut health, which is therefore going to increase your adrenals, your hormones, your egg quality, everything, your uterine lining, your anxiety, your depression, like it's all linked together.
And so what if what if you actually feel okay? Like, you know, and I say okay because we usually get to that point where we're like, yeah, I'm okay. You know, there are a few parts in my cycle where I feel a little bit bloated or whatever. But what if we generally, as you said, you know, you ate healthy, you know, what if we feel well? Will we still have intolerances that we should look into?
Yes, is the basic question. So if you have already done that, like say you've gone paleo, say you've done the elimination diet and you're still not necessarily seeing the results that you want. So that's completely what happened to me. Like my health after being on a paleo diet, it was amazing. Now there was still a few little niggly bits that were there, but I wasn't really linking. And it wasn't until I never got a food sensitivity test. If I would have got a food sensitivity test at the beginning of my diet or my journey would have been 2 years max, right? So even if you're feeling okay, it's all about the end goal results. So you can either go to get a food sensitivity test, or if you're not willing to invest in that, you go to, I call it the ultimate diet because it eliminates so much, is the autoimmune paleo diet. Now this diet, you don't want to be on long term. Most people don't need to be on it long term, but it really helps you figure out what your sensitivities are. So for me, I was able to pinpoint paprika. Like that was hands down what I was intolerant to. And still to this day, I cannot tolerate paprika, tomatoes. So a lot of the nightshades where I'm okay on eggs, I'm okay on nuts, so it really helps you figure out. And most of the stuff you eliminate on the paleo diet are good, healthy foods, but just over time and what you're genetically disposition to is they're just not healthy for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So look into it no matter what. What's the second thing that we should look at?
So the second thing on my list is your supplements. I think this community really relies heavily on supplements because we feel like we're doing something. We're helping improve our egg quality, right? Hands down, that's what we take supplements for, is always the egg quality. But what we're missing is that the egg quality comes from your overall health quality, especially your gut quality. So a lot of the supplements we're taking, once again, aren't really doing anything for our eggs because we are damaging our health, our gut health, with the foods we are intolerant to. So I advise people to just dramatically cut back unless you know you are deficient in something. So vitamin D or zinc, if you know that you're deficient in that, then you stay on that supplement. And I have my top 3 supplements, which I suppose kind of are linked to fertility, but mostly not. One being vitamin C. Vitamin C is definitely the most underrated supplement out there. It's not only amazing for your immune system, but it really supports your adrenal health, which I would probably put a pretty large bet on most people dealing with infertility or dealing with adrenal fatigue as well. So supplements, just taking a step back, I used to pop 20 pills at a time.
And that's the thing, it allows you to feel like, because you just want to feel like you're doing something. And, we always talk about, we're just looking for that magic pill, and we read, we Google, and people are talking about this vitamin, this supplement, this and that. And so we buy all of them, not realizing that they might actually be working against each other anyway.
Yeah, and doing us harm. I know that I went and saw an iridologist. Like I've done it all. And he was really good at like pinpointing things, and he put me on a load of supplements. And he actually put me on 2 that, one messed my cycle. So I always had normal cycles, but it definitely messed with my hormones. And another one, which was a natural blood thinner. because in his mind, a lot of fertility, issues are like blood clotting. And so the whole kind of baby aspirin aspect of the thing. And during my second egg retrieval, they nicked me. They were pulling out the septors or whatever, and they nicked me, and I started bleeding. And I'm not joking, the whole entire theater, because I was awake for it. It was actually a really cool experience. And my husband was in the room, but until this point, it was very cool. And they like literally like jumped on me to like stop the bleeding. And they were just kind of like, whoa, what was that? And I was like, well, I have to be honest with you, I'm on a natural blood thinning thing. So yeah, just be very careful of what you do, because we think because they're over the counter that you can buy them, that they're not going to be harmful to us. And in reality, most of the time they're not. But like you said, sometimes it's just a cocktail of, and it's a waste of money. Right? Like
absolutely. And that money could be spent better elsewhere, getting support, like the true support that people really need. Okay. So we have looking at food intolerances, we have supplements. What's the last magic thing for us?
So the last magic thing is your mindset.
Yes.
So
yes.
And this is the last one I put in place into my journey. But it's definitely, I would say, the second thing you need to do. It's not necessarily about being positive, even though that's important, and to be grateful for your journey, but it's to have the mindset that you're actually able to do this, that your body is capable, that you are able to put into place. Because when you change up your diet and when you do have to go extreme, like I had to go extreme, it's hard. And if you don't put in the practice of that mindset to go, I can do this. My future family is depending on me doing this. This is what I want. I want to have this baby. I don't want a glass of wine. I don't want the bread. You really have to get into your subconscious mind and start tricking it and start becoming the mother that you want to be before you even know that that is possible for you. So before I even knew I could get pregnant, and this is like 5 years into infertility, so I have no proof I can get pregnant, no proof that diet and lifestyle is going to work. I just started changing little things up. So instead of saying if I get pregnant or if we have kids, I started saying when I get pregnant, when we have kids. And it seems so silly and it seems very woo-woo, but there is science behind this. There is, the proof is in the pudding. And if you just allow yourself to be vulnerable, because I think a lot of the time in our journey, we put up those guards. We don't want to get hurt. Like I remember thinking some crazy thoughts during IVF and not allowing myself to think I was pregnant and all that kind of stuff. And not that it hindered my chances of getting pregnant, but it definitely, hindered me from, maybe making those big, important diet and lifestyle changes that I needed to make during that time. And yeah, it's a really big one, mindset. And hands down, as much as diet is hard, diet is kind of out of sight, out of mind, where your mind is.
And that's the thing, you're trying to break habits that you've had since you're in childhood, like those beliefs and things like that. And I love everything about that. I truly believe like we live in fear. And fear is such a huge thing and a huge barrier, to absolutely anything. But there's no way that we can get out of it. But it's learning to actually live with it and just being so gentle with ourselves. I have a very similar, experience in terms of my fertility journey. We spent 5 years and actually had our little boy Luca via a surrogate. And 2 weeks after he was born, my sister-in-law had him for us. And 2 weeks after he was born, she still had stitches in her from her cesarean section. And 2 weeks later, I fell pregnant naturally. So that was a really awkward conversation, but I had never, fallen pregnant before. And the only thing that I can pinpoint it down to was my mindset. Everything changed for me, like it was that release. It was, the thought pattern, the sadness, the frustration, like it was just kind of let go, and I wasn't carrying around all of that crap. And we really do carry around so much crap with ourselves as part of this journey. We store it down and we push it down. So I think it's really important that we do acknowledge the power that our mind does play in all of this, like just in life in general.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that our generation, so you're in your 40s, I'm almost 40, we're finally allowing these conversations to be had, where our parents and our grandparents, for the most part, shut all that down. And our generation is now putting into our children, like, no, what you think matters. Like, how you behave, how you think is going to have an effect on how you're going to live your life. And really stopping all those limiting belief conversations, right? I mean, it's so basic too. Like, the best example I have is I was always told Wendy the whiner isn't invited as a kid, which isn't mean, right? Like, no kid wants to hear their kid whine. But basically, I was told that enough that my subconscious was like, emotions aren't good, so you shut down the emotions and you're not a crier.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you go to your room to cry because we don't want to see it.
Yes. Yeah. And that doesn't build strong emotional connections, and especially in a woman, right? So we think we're weak when we cry. And through most of my fertility journey, I didn't cry.
Same.
Like, I maybe broke down, heavily twice, and that was probably after both failed IVFs. And even when I had my miscarriages, like, I kept it in, and I didn't really allow myself to express the grief. And it was just because in my subconscious, I was taught that that wasn't valid. It was weak. So it is really, really important, because once you start working on your mindset, once you start seeing your limiting beliefs in yourself, you can start seeing why you sabotage yourself, why you can't keep to the fertility diet, why you can't not have a glass of wine, why you can't stop smoking, why those cookies are always there. So you give yourself some more grace, and then you just get better at going, like, committing to your ultimate goal. And working on your mindset helps you deal with the failures that you're going to have. My last miscarriage shouldn't have been a miscarriage. I had the diet, I had the lifestyle, I had the immune suppressing drugs, I had done it before. Like, surely I was going to have twins. Like, we put 2 embryos back in, and it didn't. And having done all the work I had done before, I got through that miscarriage so much easier than I would have if I didn't have all that work in place. Because that was the end. Like, we didn't know we can get pregnant naturally, so that was our last chance. And I just walked away from it with a lot of grace, going, okay, that wasn't meant to be, that wasn't in our stars. And we have one son, and I'm grateful for our journey, and I'm grateful that it's over. And then, surprise, surprise, it wasn't.
I love that. And I could talk to you forever on this, but we're not going to. So how can we get our hands on your free 3-step guide to get you close to creating your dream family?
So just head over to findingfertility.co, not .com. They wanted too much money for that. And you'll see it on the homepage. You'll see it on the landing page. It's your email address, and it is, I think it's like a 6-7 page PDF. Lots of amazing links and resources, and all my top 3 supplements to get on, and just ways to start putting in the practice with the diet and the mindset.
Monica, it has been a complete pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community. We all appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks so much for having these little chats. I think they're amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Now, if you liked this chat as much as I did, please make sure you give this video a little like, a little share, and subscribe to this channel as well, because this is just one of some amazing interviews that we're having with amazing people as part of the Infertility Unfiltered series. So thank you so much for watching.